Hey guys, good morning. Today is Friday, June 20th, 2025. And this is the first garden tour of the year that I'll be giving you today, where I'm actually walking and talking with you. We hope you enjoyed the last video that we posted, which was more of a peaceful tour. We have fallen behind a little bit in content because we have been having a lot of rain here. Another influencer had joked around that this is called Seattle, New Jersey, which I thought was hysterical because it has been very much like Seattle here. But we welcome the rain, and New Jersey is officially out of the drought. So we have been planted since before Mother's Day, and we have had a lot of really great success so far in the garden this year. So I'm going to take you through while we have the morning light before the landscapers arrive here for Landscaper Friday, and hopefully the airplanes won't take off too much today. So everything, we have a lot of interruptions here, so bear with me. We have some changes here I want to show you, so let's get started. So I'm starting back here with my cucumbers this year, you guys. Everything's looking great. I have a lot of tomato babies climbing up. This is Marketmore 76. This was a botanical interest seed that I've had left over for the past few years. Now, I think the difference in the success of this plant and the regular Marketmore is that I heavily fed them when I planted them. Now, of course, I started them in pots this year. I did not do the direct sowing of the seeds because we're having a lot of problems with roly-polies. And I've just been having a lot of problems with cucumbers over the past few years. So this year I started them in little tiny 2-inch pots and planted them out with a lot of bone meal, which is to, help the fruit develop. I did blood meal, and I did a slow release fertilizer with worm castings. And we have just tons of enormous flowers. And right now, knock on wood, as I clank on my head, there is no pest pressure. But I should probably be quiet about that because we are about to go into 100-degree temperatures, and things tend to change. Look at the little hoverfly in there pollinating away. So these cucumbers are looking good. So here's the long view down our main vegetable gardens. We've had the most incredible lettuce over the past 2 months. Every day has been beautiful salads and crunchy lettuce for sandwiches. Just really incredible. This is a new little garden area that we built this year, and I just love the way it's coming on. We created this little sunflower bed here made out of all reclaimed material, every bit of it, every wall stone, every capstone. We even took, oh, there's one of our little resident robins. Hey girl, she always comes to show me that she has a mouthful of worms, and then she flies off to her nest. It's incredible. They run around our feet. It's really very cool. So anyway, after we even reclaimed the soil and the mulch from another part of the yard, and I planted rows of sunflowers and rows of zinnias, which are growing happily. That's the Macarena. I have various types of queenies. There are some of the double raspberry Zaharas from, I think I got them from Park Seed last year. And there is a big story behind these gazanias that I'm absolutely happy about. They were reclaimed from a trash dumpster. So I can't wait to see these sunflowers grow back here from this perspective while I'm standing under the arch of the new beds that we built for our tomatoes with the LandGuard climbing frames. You guys, these have been incredible. I love the opportunity that they give me to not only, have my center stake, which you should always have in your tomato plants, but as the branches grow outward, sometimes you're going to get one that just doesn't really want to behave. You have plenty of outer poles to attach to. And it's been great because these sun golds are growing happily, and they are actually starting to ripen here. So we will have some fruit to pick soon. Now, a few weeks ago, the leader on this plant randomly broke off. I had that happen with I think 3 or 4 of my tomato plants where my leader just tanked out. We didn't know what was happening. So I reached over and I just shoved the whole leader down into the ground. Well, look at that. Not only does it have flowers, but it is producing trusses of fruit. So I have a second plant in here that was from a broken leader. This leader healed and I had a second leader start. Now the plant is very, very happy. Look at the size of the trusses on this plant. Can't wait. This is our first year with Sun Gold. It's also our first year with Veranda Cherry from Burpee Seeds. Now, these little compact tomato plants only need about 1 square foot to grow. And they don't really need caging, I don't think, but they do need staking because they're getting very, very heavy in fruit. And you can see that they're starting to ripen. So we're any day now from harvesting our first tomatoes. I just noticed, you guys, you are experiencing this with me live. Our very first super sauce tomato has finally emerged from a flower. Wow. I guess the rain that we had yesterday and intensive heat actually finally brought that on. That's super duper exciting. This flower here is called Strawberry Blonde Marigold, which I also got from Burpee Seed. Now, the incredible thing about this flower is it blooms multiple colors from the same flower. And they change colors from yellow mixed with a pinkish blush on them to a beautiful rust color. And we've been deadheading them rather rapidly. So I took off one of the deadheads, which was filled with seeds. And I immediately just created a smiley face here, and look, the seeds are already starting to germinate. So this is very cool because I'm going to have a whole entire cluster of these, and I'll be able to harvest them for next year. That is my new favorite marigold. Look at these Sun Golds here, you guys. This is great. So we have some new varieties of tomatoes growing this year. And one of those varieties is the yellow pear. Now these guys are doing really, really well. Something I want to show you as we go along here is something I've been doing in my morning walks. Which I find to be very important. Look, you guys, it is more of the super sauce from Burpee. These are supposed to be even bigger than Amish pastes and meatier than like Jersey Devils. I really cannot wait to have these tomatoes. Ironically, we had met a couple in Costco and turned out they were gardeners, and they were telling us that they grew the super sauce as well as Gladiator and Shimmer. So I ordered those Gladiators and Shimmer tomatoes for next year. Oh, well, I hear the landscapers are arriving, so let me get on with this tour. This is Martino's Roma that I've had this seed for years from Baker Creek. Now I want you to look, even though this plant is showing some signs of disease from all of the rain we had, and this Martino's Roma is notorious for getting blight. It will produce one pretty big flush and then the plant is done. Now I planted this with intensive amounts of fertilizer, and I want you to be careful as I say that, because some people will over fertilize. I just gave it more than normal. One of the things that I got a huge dose of was Tums, which I ground up this year with a little mortar and pestle that I was talking to you about in another video, and I fed them heavily. And the tomatoes themselves seem to really appreciate that because they're growing with no blossom end rot. So that's a really great sign for the Martino's Roma. Hopefully I'll be able to get a good harvest this year because it is my intent to process approximately 60 to 70 gallons of tomato sauce to store for the year. Now in our main orchards, there is a lot happening here. As usual, I always plant Amish paste on this side of my trellis. And look, beautiful, healthy tomatoes. Again, I call out to the universe to say, oh, lady, I forgot. I didn't give you any blossom end rot. Let me give you some blossom end rot. Nope, everything is healthy. And I really think that the big dose of Tums had a lot to do with that. They really need the calcium, especially with all of the rain that we've had. Oh my goodness. We have a new tomato over here this year, which is the Costelluto Genovese Costelluto. I'm sure someone will shout at me about how I say it. Genovese, some people want to say. But look at the shape of these tomatoes. Now, this is an aggressive tomato on this vine. Hopefully you can see the shape. They are beautiful fluted tomatoes. From what I understand, these tomatoes are a workhorse in the Italian gardens, and you can have them for sauce, for slicing, for salads, for recipes, for canning. Now, that had a fasciated blossom. That is not blossom end rot, you guys. So for you newbies, you're going to want to learn the difference between blossom end rot and a fasciated blossom. These are heirloom tomatoes, so they're going to have different characteristics than some of your hybrids. But look at the beautiful fluting on this Genovese or Costelluto, whichever one you would like to call it. Please don't shout at me in caps to correct me. You say tomato, I say tomato, but here in New Jersey, we say tomato. So I have, I think, 6 of these guys growing. I cut back on some and said that I was going to keep this garden reeled in this year, but every single seed that I sowed for these Costellutos took. So they were my children. I said, I cannot get rid of you. So they're growing really, really well, and I'm very excited. Park Swapper is a plant tomato variety that we've been growing for over 10 years now. And it's just not showing up like it used to. It used to produce giant tomatoes. And we have a few on here. It's producing. Normally it was the first tomato that we would be able to harvest by between July 5th and July 15th. Now they're producing smaller tomatoes later in the year. They're not holding on. They used to produce all summer very aggressively, so much that I had to give them away to the neighbors. And they would last into November. Now they're giving us one big flush. This year it's even less than the year before. So I'm going to be phasing this seed out as I move on to a happier growing plant, which is Bonnie Best. You can see Bonnie Best is growing taller. It's giving me massive clusters. Now, this Bonnie Best came to me as a free seed to try from Baker Creek in one of my orders. Wow, am I ever happy they did, because this tomato arrives just like an early girl. It produces tomatoes about the same size as the Park Swapper. They are about the same level of gelatinous and seediness inside. The skin is not too tough, but it's somewhat disease resistant. The Bonnie Best will tolerate disease much better than the Park Swapper did. So I have several of those, and I also have several Arkansas Travelers, which are growing quite happily. And again, as you can see, I'm going to try to tilt you down here, find an angle with some of these plants. There's one for you. Look at the bottoms. Okay, this is something you should be checking on, you guys, when you are growing your tomatoes and you walk around and you're keeping everything trussed up and tight against your trellis, is if your blossoms are growing happily. Because that blossom on there, when it becomes unhappy, it will let you know, and it will go to rot. So that's going to be a precursor for the year. So you'll know what you're dealing with. It's letting you know, Mommy, we need some calcium. We need more of a regular watering routine. It'll tell you. So that's a great indicator for the health of your tomato plants overall. So yeah, Arkansas Traveler grows a smaller, round, pink tomato that is really very adorable. These plants hang on for a long time in the season. Last year was my first year growing them, and they produced buckets of tomatoes that I was able to share with the neighbors. And again, they worked great for salads and for, quick dicing, for salsa, for bruschetta, things like that. Now over here I have Mortgage Lifter, which I moved last year, was in another part of the garden. It went to blight and I got no Mortgage Lifter. The year before that, the tomatoes were happy. So you never know what you're going to get. but right now I have clusters of them. So hopefully they'll produce big giant tomatoes like they did the first year that we grew them. Now, for those of you who have been with our channel for a while, you may know the layout of the garden. And as I get to the end of our main trellises here, I usually have classic beefsteak, Abe Lincoln, and Hungarian hearts. I eliminated those 3 varieties this year, and I'm happy I did because these guys seem to be so much happier. Lots of flowers. Now we are having some issues with blossoms falling off, and I'll tell you why. Now these blossoms look pretty good on the mortgage lifters, but on several of our tomato varieties we noticed that the blossoms were just turning yellow and falling right off. Now you'll see that, you guys, for you newbies, that's usually an indicator that something extreme is happening with the weather. It's either too hot, the blossoms don't like it over 85, 90 degrees. They start to either just drop off, dry out. But when they turn yellow and fall off, it's because they've had too much water. So we're waiting for this upper level of truss to dry out with its new blooms. The lower trusses that had first started, we lost a lot of blossoms. And I'll show you on another plant what that actually looks like. Now, this is one leftover brandywine yellow that I have in another part of the garden. This is the first time growing this. Now I wanted the brandywine separate. I did not want this in this main trellis because brandywines like to be segregated. So they have a different characteristic because of their potato leaf. They tend to get blighty very easy, but when they're all together in one spot, last year they behaved very well. And I think I have my first tomatoes in here that are actually going to start to form. You can always tell that that's going to happen when your blossom starts to dry out and the flower head tilts down and starts to look down at the ground. You're about to actually have a tomato. So the main trellis here is looking incredible. And then over here we have Romas. Now I'm going to loop back around from another angle and show you those up close as I come back from the other side. This is the other side of the same trellis where with different exposure, you can see different things happening, different characteristics. The other side gets more shade. This gets the first morning sun. So some of these blossoms here are happier right now. We really haven't had very much sun lately. It's been cold at night and that really had an effect on things. But you can see we have tomatoes under there. Also growing in this bed, only on this side of the trellis, I have buckwheat, which is soba. That is a nitrogen fixer in the soil. We have marigolds for pest resistance, and we have some volunteer cosmos that are growing here. So, and also some of these marigolds are actually volunteers as well. Now, a powerhouse in your garden, you guys, that you want to grow to be a companion plant with anything is borage. Because borage is where your beehives, well, not your hives, your swarms are going to hang. And you can see we already have some bees arriving here today. Bees love the borage. This is a delightful flower that can be seen from far away. And as the light starts to diminish at the end of the day and we're falling into golden hour, this beautiful periwinkle blue color actually becomes like a neon iridescent blue, and it's full of bees. The plants actually, they'll buzz. You walk by and the plants are buzzing. So we highly encourage you to grow borage in your garden for many reasons. Now over here I have San Marzanos. Again, I'm checking the blossom end to see if everything is growing because of all of that rain that we had over the past few weeks. These guys have had a rough start. So look at those beautiful bottoms. Very, very happy about this. Romas are doing great. They had a very rough start this year. They just did not want to grow, but now look. This is the Roma variety from M.I. Gardener. I've been growing these for 2 years now. Last year was a rough year. I didn't get as many tomatoes as I normally did. No fault of the actual tomato plant. We had extreme weather conditions last year. But you can see here, I have little clusters or trusses, you can call them, healthy bottoms. Incredible. Lots of tomatoes. So my Roma tomato production, last year I was actually producing tomato sauce by the second week of July. This year I don't anticipate that I'll be starting tomato sauce until August. Now, new thing that we have growing here is Black Beauty eggplants, which are finally starting to have some flowers. Eggplants, you can anticipate that you're going to have flea beetle damage on your leaves, but this year it's not nearly as bad as it has been in the past. And what is ironic is I usually don't have eggplant growing as a fruit until well into July. Well, it's June 20th and I already have Casper eggplant to harvest. I have a Gondia de Listata over there, which we'll be able to harvest because we like to take them when they're young. And again, you see we have white borage growing over here and the bees just love it. You have to have bees everywhere. Blue borage mixed in here because they are going to pollinate your flowers. Now, this was a flower for all of you who are just growing for the first time. Whenever you have a flower growing from a plant, it's going to produce a fruit. So we have several Casper eggplants. This was an eggplant that just tanked on me. It did not want to live. Look what happened, it came back. I'm mixing a lot of basil into my beds this year because they act as a great pest repellent. Look at the borage. Once you grow borage, you guys, you're gonna have borage forever. So you do have to keep it in check, but the bees love it and we love it. So we allow it and we continue to prune it. Now over here, I have some banana peppers that are growing nicely. I've already harvested a few. I had some peppergate happen, possibly by my own doing, where I may have messed up some seeds. I have a Jimmy Nardello planted in here, which I never usually do. These plants are coral bell peppers from M.I. Gardner, and they are starting to produce little babies. But one of the things that really surprised me this year was that I had yellow sunbrights producing peppers very early in the year this year, which we don't normally see peppers this big until almost July. I can hear the landscapers coming, you guys, so I'm starting to get a little anxious in the pace of my voice. This is two of my most favorite plants that carried us through the year last year in spite of many big storms and a lot of really extreme weather. This is German pink and brandywine pink. These were the biggest, most beautiful tomatoes that we have ever grown. Brandywine tends to be a very disease-prone plant, as we had explained to you earlier. But last year, I'll see if I can find that video and link it below. They were the most incredible, beautiful tomatoes that produced until the frost. They really didn't get any disease. They've been on a trellis together here, so I'm mixing Germans with brandywines because they are both potato leaf varieties. And you can see, hello German pink, I cannot wait to have you. So these gorgeous flowers, the German varieties produce very, very large blossoms, which is going to be an indicator that you're going to have a large fruit. Now you can see, oh, hello brandywines. Struggling to see everything here, you guys, in this light. There they are. So yeah, so it's June 20th. Normally we are harvesting some sort of a tomato, like I said, between July 5th and 15th. But I think we're going to have a delay here because of all those cold nighttime temperatures. We had nights into the high 40s well into May and part of June. So now it went from being chilly to being extreme heat. We anticipate temperatures to be at 100 degrees in the next coming week. So we'll see how my Jersey Devils here are going to respond to that because they are divas. Now, if you are growing Jersey Devil for the first time, don't be alarmed. It is a very wilty appearing plant. They are truly divas. They tend to get a lot of disease and they tend to be prone to blossom end rot. So I won't know yet because if I fertilized them enough and gave them enough calcium, because you can see they're not producing tomatoes yet. And you just don't really know until the tomato has actually formed and you can actually see the blossom end before you'll have some idea of what your plants are going to do in the year. Right now they look good. That doesn't really mean anything. Jersey Devil is a diva. I have heard a good replacement if you're struggling with Jersey Devil is Federle, F like Frank, E-D like David, E-R-L-E. You can find that tomato at M.I. Gardner and I think a few other places. So if you're struggling with Jersey Devils, then you may want to try that, or even Pink Fang I hear is pretty good. Now, the thing about Jersey Devil is they take a long time to ripen and then they become prone to pest pressure. You can harvest them early once they are fully formed, even though they are still green. If you have a place to let them counter ripen, they will, and then they produce the most delicious, meaty, almost seedless paste tomato that you could ever imagine. And when you roast them as a base for tomato paste and pots of sauce or gravy, you might want to call it, Jersey Devil in my book is a winner. So now I'm going to take you over to my incredible shishito pepper and jalapeno pepper bed. Here again, we have marigolds for pest pressure. We have a lot of very happy bees pollinating their life away over here in these borage gardens that are mixed in with everything. Look how healthy everything is. Now, I have already had 2 big harvests of peppers that we have pan blistered and enjoyed. Pan blistered shishito peppers are like a joy of life. Once you have them, every year you will want to grow shishito peppers. And the same thing with jalapeno. Jalapeno is a zero heat pepper that looks just like a jalapeno. It's all the flavor of the jalapeno, minuses the heat, but it also gets a nice purple to black color to it, and it also will chipotle and turn nice and red, and it will start to cork, and that's when it has its greatest flavor. We love jalapeno. We grow it every year, and what I love about the shishito pepper is you can kind of regulate how much heat you're going to get from it. Every now and then you get a really hot one if you leave the seeds in, but if you take the seeds out and core it before you pan blister it, you'll see that you can control the heat. Absolutely delicious. I highly recommend it. This is a great grower. Well, I almost made it through the tour, you guys. The landscapers are here for the neighbor's house. Now, these peppers here are Keystone resistant, which I have been growing from a very, very old pack of seeds that I harvested from peppers from, I don't know, it's been at least 3 seasons now. Keystone resistant, if you can find it, you guys, is a very large bell pepper that will start to striate beautiful red stripes, and then it will turn red after you harvest it. California Golden Wonder is growing well for me. These guys almost didn't want to cooperate this year. They were unhappy as seedlings. They all turned yellow, but once I planted them out, they rebounded, and now they're producing beautiful fruits. California Golden Wonder will grow a more square 4-lobed pepper that has thick walls and is great for stuffing, for sauteing, for roasting, all kinds of things. I love the California Golden Wonder. Now, the biggest producing bell pepper that I have right now, besides the Sunbright, which I showed you first, is the Parks Whopper bell pepper. These produce the biggest peppers I have ever grown. Very, very thick walled. They're mostly disease resistant, but they are prone to scorching. So today we are actually going to put up our shade cloth across our large thick-walled peppers to prevent scorching and give them some shade. We will attach the links from last year where we put up shade cloth, where we bought the shade cloth. We'll give you links for all of that. It's very, very important if you live in a warm place with too much sun that you offer your peppers shade. Last year we produced more peppers than we ever had. Now over here I have Cubanea, Cubanelle, depending on what level you want to pronounce it. These are wonderful little frying peppers that I like to pan blister and roast however you enjoy them. They do grow a beautiful chartreuse green, and they start to striate with yellow and pink and orange. Ultimately, when it's fully ripe, it turns this beautiful deep orange color. These are Jimmy Nardellos, which are a powerhouse in your pepper varieties. They are the most delicious peppers, pan blistered. They taste like they just came off of a cedar plank grill. They're full of flavor and aroma when you cook them. I highly recommend Jimmy Nardellos. Grow several because they are a little finicky at first when you're trying to get them started. Sometimes they produce, sometimes they don't. Now this guy here, I honestly don't know what this is. It kind of looks like a serrano pepper. It was supposed to be a Jimmy Nardello. So I do think I got hit with some peppergate. It could be an ottopeno, but they're growing a little odd in color. It could be a Megatron that mixed itself in. I don't really know. That wasn't supposed to be there, but these giant Jimmy Nardellos were supposed to be here. So my traditional layout of pepper plants seems to have been interrupted. These are giant Marconi, which again turn a beautiful dark red. They produce a very beautiful pepper that is a thinner wall than your customary bell peppers, a little bit thicker than the Cubanea, but the flavor is there of that delicious like fire plank a pepper that's been cooked like in an open flame. Really delicious. We highly recommend giant Marconi. So again, this area here is about to get its shade cloth today, but look how beautiful the garden looks, you guys. 2025 is starting off strong. It held up well yesterday through a terrible storm that came through. We had 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds that hit last night. Nothing budged because I have been out here hyper vigilant to keep everything staked. Sometimes, you know, I'm letting some of my more aggressive heirloom tomatoes form their suckers, and I'm just adding an extra stake, as you can see here. You have to be careful here because, again, this is a potato leaf variety that I'm about to show you. When they don't have enough ventilation and aeration for a tomato of this size, sometimes too much canopy is a detriment and you'll start to get disease. They had some disease starting early on because of all the rain, but they seem to be correcting themselves as they get exposed to the sun. So I am allowing some of this canopy to happen because we're about to go into extreme heat. So I've just simply added another stake, and I've clipped off this extra stalk here because it wants to produce flowers. This is the first time that I'm growing German Johnson. Now I'm very, very excited about this plant because I want to show you the size of the tomato it's already producing with a beautiful, very, very healthy bottom. We have trusses of tomatoes on German Johnson. I'm over the moon excited about this. I have some babies starting up here. And again, on this side, I have another potato leaf variety, which is 3 more of Brandywine Yellow. Now I have a whole entire garden full of just yellow tomatoes on the other side that I'm going to show you. But it was more important to me that I kept the potato leaves separated. And you can see here, the babies are starting to drop down. I hope you can see the light is changing. But this is going to be, I think, a year of tomatoes. I'm really, really hoping to have the output and the variety that we wanted. Now, I say every year that I'm growing all of these varieties and all of this quantity because I'm trying to find my favorite tomato. It turns out that they're all my favorite tomato, and I'm just taking what I get. And you know what? I'm sharing less because I'm processing more. I'm finding ways to use the fruits of my labor to actually have food for a year. So here is the main tomato orchard, you guys. And again, we're spinning around to a new bed that Farmer John built me from reclaimed material that we got at the stone yard. This stuff was in a dumpster. We were happy to take it. We filled it up with some soil and mulch, and I have an incredible sunflower garden started. There are many, many varieties in here. They're probably planted too close, but I wanted them to support each other. I have 40 varieties of sunflowers this year. And in this bed, I've planted them in the back so that I have American Giants, which go 16 to 17 feet tall. There's Black Russian in here, Vanilla Ice, Chocolat, evening sun, heirloom varieties. I cannot wait to see the teddy bears, the sun kings. Can't wait to see all of these sunflowers started. And then, of course, we'll have the view of these sunflowers that are coming up here. Now, the landscapers are here, you guys, and I wanted to give you a more detailed view of all the flowers that we're growing, but I think I'm going to take you over to the yellow tomato garden while I still can, and we're probably going to do a separate flower tour because there are so many flowers to see already this year. I tried to get this done before the landscapers came. Briefly, I'll show you that we have more peppers over here. I have pepperoncini, more Jimmy Nardellos. There's natapenos and some more shishitos, which are grown very large, all inside of our basil garden. This is, we have holy basil, which smells like and tastes like bubble gum, cinnamon basil and lemon basil. Lime basil didn't want to cooperate this year. I did manage to get one plant that is growing over in the yellow tomato garden. Happy bee and happy borage. Here's our little cornfield this year, you guys. We don't know what happened. This was very scary because our corn did not start off the way it normally does. It's normally all even. A lot of it didn't germinate until late. You can see the smaller stalks coming up. So we're going to have a succession harvest this year, which we don't normally. Normally we harvest about 300 ears all at once, and I process them all at once. This year the harvest will be staggered because of the way it decided to grow. And it's kind of okay because the benefit of that is it will be less pressure on me to process all at once. The con of that is it will be more susceptible to pest pressure, which is a corn earworm that happens at the top and starts eating away at the tip of the ear as it starts to produce. But we'll just cut that away, and we're just going to let it do what it wants to do. A few ears went down in the rotating winds that came through yesterday. It was very scary. But you see Farmer John came out and he just very quickly re-hilled them, and they're up and they will be fine. Over here I have some bean varieties. Half of the bed wanted to grow, the other half didn't. We don't know why. But look at the beautiful garden, you guys. This is just a suburban backyard here in northwestern Burlington County, New Jersey. I have so much to show you because I started lavender from seed. I have all sorts of agastache, salvia. This is an herbaceous border that we started. We are producing massive amounts of blackberries, red raspberries. We've had probably 15 pounds of Doris Duke blueberries produced already. They are massive, juicy, everything you want a blueberry to taste like. More herbaceous border. Our strawberry production, we probably have 5 months of strawberries processed. The wind came and tore down our trussing system that we had to keep the net up to keep the birds out. But yes, I have about 5 months of strawberries processed in the freezer. Now, something that having a little bit of a weedy area is an indicator of is that your garden is healthy. If the weeds want to live here and the volunteers, that means things want to live here. Oh, here comes the landscapers. Hold on. Now, I've been so excited to talk to you about this garden. I'm going to go ahead with it because I don't know when I'm going to get another chance. This lavender I grew from seed last year, you guys, while we were in the middle of building this amazing circular garden here. Everything besides the galvanized beds is from scrap. All of the stone, the little steps, all of the rocks. I grew the lavender from seed. I had no place to put it, so I threw it in here, and now earlier this year we had the most amazing lavender show. It was incredible. All of these cosmos are volunteers that we've been pulling out of the ground and replanting back into the beds. But what a magical little place this has turned out to be. And all of these calendulas here are volunteers. This area here is where I grow all of my yellow tomatoes. And all of this calendula is volunteers from last year. We have Pink Surprise, which is more of an orange calendula, mixed with zeolites, and Snow Princess, which ranges from shades of yellow to shades of white and cream. This is an absolutely gorgeous area of flowers. Calendula seems to do best in its second year, and it decides where it wants to live. So if you have the patience to allow your calendula to volunteer where it elects, you're going to be, talk about pink surprise. You are going to be surprised, delighted, happy, thrilled when you see the joy and the longevity that this flower offers. Another volunteer that I have over here is the double raspberry Sahara zinnia, which is just absolutely beautiful. This is a lower growing zinnia that grows great in borders. It's shades of white and pink. It's beautiful. You can see all of the buds on it. Again, that's a volunteer that decided that that was where it wanted to live. So for the past, I think, 3 years, we've had this area here separate for our yellow tomatoes. And I just love having this separate garden here. I can see it from the inside of the house, from the aviary. We love the way all of the calendula has volunteered around it. The only tomato plant here that is not going to be yellow was a leftover super sauce. I had no place to put it, and I'm happy that I moved it over here because it actually likes it here very much. So we're going to see how well super sauce does in this location compared to the main tomato orchards. For the first time, I'm also growing Sartre-Leigh. Again, I'm certain someone is going to come out and tell me that's not how you pronounce it, but I say Sartre-Leigh. Tell me what you say if you can somehow phonetically spell it out. I think that the very first tomato that we're going to see was from a fasciated blossom. It is very, very large. That tomato is about to drop down anytime. So I'm excited to try this for the first time. Again, somebody ordered seeds from Baker Creek. They had too many seeds. They gave us the packet last year. I could not wait to grow it this year. Now, I'm not rotating my crops, which some people believe in. I throw caution to the wind, and I'm growing things where I know they do well. Here is the first Dr. Witchy yellow tomato of the year. I cannot wait to have this tomato. Dr. Witchy's is one of my absolute favorite, as well as pineapple in the same spot, which this is one of the issues that I wanted to show you. This was where we had a bad problem with blossoms dropping off. And I have entire trusses that had blossoms and they just fell off. The pineapple tomato did not like all of the rain that came, but it seems to be balancing itself out now. I have a few questionable areas on the blossoms. We won't have tomatoes on this probably until the end of July, but it's okay. I absolutely love pineapple tomato. It's worth growing every year. You get that beautiful orange yellow tomato with the pink tie-dye through it. It's an incredible fruity tomato, so worth growing. And then over here I have the very moody Kellogg's Breakfast Yellow, which is one of the most delicious giant heirloom yellow tomatoes that you can grow. They do tend to produce very large tomatoes early on, and then it takes a long time for the upper canopy to then produce larger tomatoes. The green-bellied stink bugs absolutely love these yellow tomatoes though. So we think that we've come up with a solution for that we're going to show you in another video when that solution is in action. Hopefully we won't need to, because as of now we don't have any pest pressure. Again, I'm knocking on my skull to say, knock on wood, no pest pressure. But Dr. Witchy's, they never produce early tomatoes, so again, well worth the wait. How beautiful is this though, you guys? Different times of the day we have different angles of light. This here is another strawberry blonde marigold, which you really do want to grow marigolds in your tomatoes because it really, in the end, makes a difference. Last year I grew less marigolds and we had a greater pest pressure level. Marigolds, calendulas or pot marigolds, and basil. The basil really is a pest repellent, so worth adding into your tomatoes. Something I did different this year was to try to grow my Grappoli di Inverno grape tomatoes in a pot, and I'm so happy that I did. This plant is very, very, very happy. This is a trellis that I got last year, maybe it was the year before, from Amazon. We can post a link for you. This is a much smaller obelisk than the LandGuard product that we have. You can see in the background there what the black obelisk looks like compared to the wonderful LandGuard obelisk that we grow in this year. But the Grappoli di Inverno, I had growing in another area last year, and I actually had to rip it out because it was an overachiever. They ripen all at once, and they attracted all sorts of fruit flies. So this year I decided I was going to put them in a pot to try to keep them well behaved inside of an obelisk, and it was the best decision that I ever made, because the Grappoli di Inverno tomato is excellent for dehydrating in a low temperature oven for several hours to get a sun-dried tomato. They also work well as a paste grape tomato. They're more of a mini Roma, and they don't taste like the sweetness of a regular grape tomato or a cherry tomato. These are great for creating a base for sauce. So I highly encourage that. Here are one of my carrot beds. We moved, you know, we used to have, like I said, over there used to be where we did all of our carrots, but we took down both of those raised beds and we moved everything. So I was forced to relocate my carrot production. So right now I'm in the raised wooden trowel that I've got from Tractor Supply a few years ago. Carrots are doing incredible. Yesterday I pulled 2 big bags of full-size carrots from here. Yellow, red, orange, all varieties like Corral, Danvers halves. There's cosmic red in here, dragons, red dragons, Uzbek, you name it. There's different Danvers, different Chantenets, all really incredible carrot production. And I'll show you the other bed that I have as well, because there might be a few carrots to actually pull out. So here I have a waist-high garden bed that's over 30 inches tall, and you can see the wind that came through just knocked everything down. But this bed was full of carrot tops that I had harvested yesterday, so it left all the carrot tops with nothing to lean up against, so they just kind of collapsed in the storm. But you can see that I've got some more carrots that I'm successively harvesting. Once you know, you test, you want to just stick your finger down. I was hoping to have one to pull out for you. Once you can feel the crown or see the crown, you want to get them out before they get too tall or send up a seed pod, because then the carrot itself will become inedible. It'll be very, very woody, or pithy is what a carrot is called when it's really not edible anymore, and if it's gone to seed and it wants to produce seed. Now, if you have a carrot that's done that, it may be in your best interest to leave it where it is. Once you learn that black swallowtail butterflies love carrot tops, and they will lay massive amounts of eggs in here. The caterpillars will feed on the carrot tops, and then the gift is you end up with tons and tons of butterflies. So consider that with your carrot tops, you guys. They could have black swallowtail caterpillars in them. Now briefly, I'm going to show you our what we call lily walk. This area is about to go through a transformation this year, you guys. Lots happening still here in our backyard garden. This is perennial feverfew, which does best in its second year. Lots of chamomile-like flowers are present. They're not fragrant like chamomile, but they're just a happy little addition to the garden. They look beautiful, backlit with the morning sun, and usually there's a lot of bees and butterflies over here, which are absolutely loving all of the volunteer cosmos that we've allowed to go here, as well as Lucifer crocosmia. I should have one open that's actually producing flowers, which is a big favorite of hummingbirds and butterflies. I'm so sorry for the landscapers in the background. For those of you who are in suburbia, maybe you can commiserate with me. Landscapers' day has become like a nightmare to suburbia with all of the pollution and the fumes and the noise pollution. Anyway, you guys, it's very upsetting to me. But here we have shades of blue larkspur, which has the potential to be highly invasive, and you'll see why as we grow, because all of this purple larkspur came from 2 plants that were behind the Artistry greenhouse last year and produced massive amounts of flowers. But we transferred them. You can take the volunteers, they happily transplant. They just want to grow. and they do produce massive amounts of seeds, which I'll show you what a seed pod looks like. But look at all the lily flowers that we're going to have this year, you guys, and sunflowers. Again, I have 40 varieties of sunflowers growing in here. Tons of Crocosmia, Lucifer. Now, again, this was from the Longview Gardens. I'm sorry, I forget the correct name. From Costco, the bags of spring bulbs. They didn't produce last year. This year, so they're a 2-year bulb. Remember that with some of these things that you buy in the Costco flower bulbs, they may take 2 years to come up. Like the garden phlox didn't come up, but it's coming up now. So that's something to consider. Lucifer is worth having in the garden if you want to attract hummingbirds and butterflies naturally. We have so many varieties of bumblebees this year. This is a very large bumblebee here that has like a bronzy fur to him. They're incredible, very happy bumblebees. He's just so friendly. I absolutely love it. Again, more of the shades of blue larkspur. You can see as we get further down into this lily walk, the larkspur is a highly invasive flower. If you can't manage it, I would say don't grow it. If you don't mind the wild meadow that produces, I say go for it. You can control it if you make sure you collect its seed pods before it goes to seeds, because just the tip, now you can see back here, I'm going to show you. That one is going to seed. Inside each pod, there's hundreds of seeds. They like to cold stratify, so if you're buying this fresh this year, you will not see these flowers this year. They need to cold stratify. You can fall sow and let them overwinter. Don't worry about the seeds with the fall sowing. Or you can start them in your starter packs, but they do best not being disturbed, naturally cold stratifying in the garden directly. You can see just how happy this plant is. Now, it's not all this purple color. I'm going to show you what this shades of blue larkspur offers from botanical interest. Bachelor's button is a volunteer from last year. We have some nigella mixed in here somewhere. This is white phlox. This is a blue salvia. More bachelor's button is blue, and the pink and the purple together is so incredible. So you can see the larkspur wants to go to seed. We have to snip that off. It will keep the blooms on longer, and it will start to control the volunteers that we have going on. But one of the biggest surprises, here goes some liatris, which will be a beautiful purple color. One of the biggest surprises was when this color here came into bloom. This is what I would call shades of blue. They look like little mini Rose of Sharon, almost a delphinium appearance. Absolutely gorgeous. Some of the blooms are lavender, some are cobalt blue, some are royal purple. Really gorgeous. Lots of cosmos volunteers. Oh, and a story about healthy snapdragons. Now, if you've been here for a while, you guys, you saw that all my beautiful perennial snapdragons broke my heart last year when they became seriously infected with rust. So we eradicated the hollyhocks, and that seems to have eradicated the rust. These snapdragons are volunteers, and I'm so happy they volunteered to come back because they're so beautiful in the garden. I'm getting every color that I had the year before. The pink and the popcorn yellow with this beautiful blue larkspur is just so wonderful. Snapdragons are so satisfying, and they will produce more seeds and grow back next year rust-free. So we could not be happier about the return of the snapdragons. Our hibiscus plant is returned with a beautiful ornamental ring of volunteer petunias in the pot. That will be producing flowers very, very soon. We have volunteer Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth, volunteer zinnias of all colors. The poppies are from 2 years ago. We have lots and lots of very, very fragrant sweet peas growing. Now, the best sweet pea, if you're looking for that experience to grow, is the high scent variety from botanical interest. You may be able to find that somewhere else. It took a beating in that torrential rain we had last night, but the fragrance of the high scent is very much like a soft honeysuckle. It's soapy and clean. You walk by it and you just want to immerse yourself in the fragrance of it. It's incredible. Well, here's another Lucifer, which I'm hearing is highly invasive as well. And I think that someone was accurate in that statement, because I didn't plant this Lucifer here. In spite of the fact that it really didn't grow very much last year, it managed to reseed all over the garden. But we're going to allow it to grow to see what happens. Well, you guys, we have so much content to cover with you. And I'm sorry that it's so noisy, in spite of the fact that it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. We just can't seem to avoid it around here anymore. Suburbia has become a very noisy place with the landscapers. If it's not behind me, it'll be next to me tomorrow. So we have to continue on, or we'll never have a garden tour. Now, that was only touching on some of the garden. I have a very expansive herb garden growing this year for the butterflies. There's tons of thyme, oregano, rosemary, basil, dill, fennel, cilantro, you name it. Tons of parsley varieties growing, all for the butterflies. We have more flowers that are growing and that have yet to bloom. So this was very long, but again, we didn't cover everything. So we want to say thank you to those of you who stayed through this garden tour and to the end. If you're new here, please subscribe. It makes a huge difference in our ability to produce content for you and make it worth the time that you'll spend watching us as YouTube puts us out into the algorithm. So please subscribe to our channel. If you like this type of content and you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, if you're new here, my name is Leigh. You may have seen Farmer John. If you didn't see him today, you'll see him in some of the other videos. Please go back and watch. We have so many videos full of information that will help you grow a successful garden for tomatoes, vegetables, flowers, and then we do product reviews as well. So if you want to see product reviews, you're going to want to subscribe to our channel. And we hope that you'll return. A recap very, very quickly, life update that I want to give you guys, our long-term viewers. We are sorry that we are sporadically coming in and out. A little bit of an update for those of you who are here until the end. In November, I was in a very bad car accident. I was coming from Costco. A very quick story here. I was sitting at a red light. I was the first car in line. A car 3 cars behind me decided that it didn't want to stop, and it rammed 2 more cars into the back of me, which caused me to snap forward very, very hard and did some damage to my vertebrae and some spinal cord issues. I have a lot of compression, a lot of nerve damage, a lot of symptoms. It's been very, very painful 7 months of recovery, normally in a very large back brace that goes from my shoulder blades down to my tailbone to keep me up and straight. Causing all sorts of problems with pain and mobility. And again, for those of you who have been here for the past 3 years, you know that I already had a back problem, which took me 2.5 years with the right doctor to get to a point where I was in maintenance and I was able to go 8 weeks without an adjustment. This lady came plowing into the back of me, put a Porsche Carrera or a Porsche Cayenne into the back of my trunk, and it left me with my life altered right now. So bear with me. Our garden tours will get caught up. You'll see more of what we're doing. Again, today we're going to be putting shade cloth on, so I'll try to film that for you. But in the interim, check out the link below, you guys, because it's time for you to get your shade cloth. It gets difficult to find it, even on Amazon. It gets sold out easy, so you don't want to miss your opportunity. So check the link for that below. Stay tuned for more stories like why we have these pots hanging behind us this year. We got them from a dumpster, and they're thriving beautifully. So lots of stories to tell you guys anyway. Thanks so much for spending this morning with me, and we hope to see you in the next video. Say goodbye to the babies.